August 21st meeting of the Boone County Board to order at 6:30 p.m. We will start with Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us all here this evening as we do the work of our community. We thank you for those who volunteer. We thank you for those that are here to make decisions. We ask for your guidance. We also ask that you be with our military members, both home and abroad, as they protect our freedoms by putting themselves in harm's way. We also ask again that you please continue to be with Ken Terranoni and Molly and their entire family as they continue to work and progress through his recovery. Give them strength and confidence, knowing that you'll never put more on them than you know they can handle. In your name we pray. Amen. Roll call, please.
Carl Johnson.
Here.
Sherry Bartelt.
Here.
Jeff Carlisle.
Here.
Denny Ellingson.
Here.
Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Carl Larson. Ray Larson.
Here.
Jessica Milner.
Here.
Marshall Newhouse.
Here.
Bernard O'Malley.
Here.
Brad Stark.
Here.
Kathy Ward.
Here.
Next up, I'd accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Mr. Newhouse. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'd accept a motion to approve the July 17th County Board meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I do have one public comment. If there's anybody else in the audience that'd like to do public comment, I'd ask that you fill out one of these white forms. Right here I have Pamela Gustafson. And we have a brand new microphone, so we're hopeful that we'll all be able to hear you without you having to swallow the microphone. Jessica, can you make sure that's on, Jessica?
Custom new one here, and then if not, I will jump up with mine. Yes. Just make sure I turn it on.
Ms. Gustafson, I'm understanding that you need to be about 2 inches away from the microphone.
How is this?
A little closer, I think.
How is this?
Perfect.
Okay. My name is Pamela Gustafson. I live at 9637 Poplar Grove Road. I think everybody's familiar with who I am. I came here to report that we had another accident on May 7th, and I'm going to just read part of the email that I sent to Justin. We had another accident at my intersection yesterday. Just a few minutes before the accident, my farmer friend Marv Johnson and I were parked on the blacktop approach to my drive. I had just gotten back into my car after getting the mail. In the time it took us to drive into the back of my house, the accident occurred. Another close call. The driver going north took down my mailbox. I have bungee corded the mailbox to the post frame, but it will have to be replaced. It's just about a year since the last mailbox accident. The mailbox has now since been replaced. The woman who said she stopped and then looked both ways, this was on Squaw Prairie on Squaw Prairie on the east side. She said she looked both ways more than once and did not see the vehicle going north. She hit the SUV. Who was the one that took down my mailbox? When I see the accident report, I will talk to both drivers about replacing the box and reattaching it to the post. On July 18th, I contacted by phone the lady who caused the accident, and she didn't even have the courtesy to call me back. I called American Family, and the lady at Proudfoot's office was really nice. And she gave me the Liberty Mutual phone number because it wasn't on the accident report. I'm just wondering, and I've gotten a lot of questions from neighbors, what is being done with that intersection. Now, it's been well over 5 months because I had my surgery on the 13th, was in the hospital for 3.5 days with blood clots in my lung, and then I had rehab into April 19th was my last day, and nothing has changed. It's still the same intersection. And I had hardly been home from rehab when this accident occurred. I'm just getting rather annoyed since it's well over 20 years now that I've been working on this, and I continue to be the victim, and I continue to have to follow up on matters. It's always the victim who has to do this, and believe me, I wasn't in any shape to be out looking for a mailbox. That doesn't sound like very much to you, but I was very sick, and no one offered to help me. As I have said before, are you waiting for Marilyn or I to be killed, and then you're going to do something about the intersection? And this is just for your information. I had what they call a near-death experience. I almost died. And it's taken me really a long time to recover from this. But anyway, I'm back, and so you're going to be seeing me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience for public comment? Seeing none, next up we have appointments. I would accept a motion to appoint David Wiltsey to Fire District Trustees in Fire District 3 Board of Trustees.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Ms. Bartelt. I did want to point out Mr. Wiltsey is here. Mr. Wiltsey, if you could stand up. He was able to make it tonight. If you had any direct questions you wanted to ask him quick or anything like that, but he's here, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job. Any discussion from the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Wiltsey, thank you very much for your willingness to serve our community, and good luck in your new endeavor. Anything you'd like to say? You bet. Thank you. Next up, Council on Aging.
We met the other day. We still are without a new director, but we're getting very close on that, I think. And it was their year end, and the auditor was there actually ahead of doing the auditing, but said for the way the numbers come out, you just can't believe year after year they seem to be incredibly close to their estimated budget to the realistic end-of-year numbers. So I think everything's looking good.
Thank you very much. Growth Dimensions.
Good evening. Can I have this open? Okay. I just wanted to update you on some of the new things that are happening. A lot of changes with Growth Dimensions.
If you need to pull that out, Pam, you can. That's fine.
Is that a little bit taller than this? Right now, with our enterprise zones, we have 12 new projects since 2019, which plan to invest about $5.6 million in construction and material. I'm sorry, in capital construction and material costs. Excuse me, and about over $15 million in capital investment this year. We have also 8 open projects from 2018 that we're still working on. So our enterprise zone investments have been higher than we anticipated, and we're continuing to market that. So I think that has a lot to do with it. We're getting that word out. We've also have 9 projects that we submitted this current year. These are major projects. We're also working with a lot of the owners of land off Irene Road and US 20 in order to get it prepared for further development. We're initiating some discussions with companies like Whole Foods, Costco, RP Lumber about additional enterprises here in Boone County. And you might have heard that my former executive assistant got a new position as executive director of the Belvidere Area Chamber of Commerce. She's going to have an open house this Friday. But this gives us also an opportunity for Growth Dimensions to kind of look at our staffing plan and what we project to do. I have released 2 job descriptions, one for administrative assistant and another one for a business enterprise manager. This will give us the support in order to help us follow up on contacts that we have and developing those relationships, help us enhance the investments not only to our organization but to the community, and help us deliver programs that we feel are key that our economic development organization, our business, and our industries needs in order to maintain their location here, to grow, and for new businesses to locate here. So these are programs that I think will be key to our current businesses as well as further growth. And I feel that we're in a good position to do so thanks to our investors and again the support that we have on our board. We're working a lot with our marketing efforts, and we were talking this morning in our executive committee about some of the great things that Boone County is known for, and we get recognized for, but we need to continue to get this word out and market this. The Boone County, the fly-in at the Poplar Grove Airport this weekend had a number of people that not only attended the breakfast, but they said they had about 700 people come through the museum that day, which is just a record number of people. We had record numbers for the Boone County Fair, Heritage Days, and then there's some events at the Buchanan Street Stroll. So there's a lot of new opportunities that people are excited about in coming and visiting here, or activities that we're doing. So we're, again, trying to work on our marketing plan, in which these new positions will be instrumental in helping us carry those out.
Any questions for Growth Dimensions? Mr. Carlisle.
Hi. I might have missed it, but did you give us an estimated tax incentive on the possible 9 projects that were kind of presented? Was there an idea?
Well, a lot of them they're all still active. There was one that was off the table and that went back on because they had another contract that was nearby, so we're in the proximity. But we don't have what that would mean as far as taxes and how that translates. Some of these projects are in different phases of the information that they provide us. One of them, though I do have to say, we've had a meeting with the business consultant. This is actually our 3rd engagement with this company, which is very good. The project is very large, and it's extremely confidential, so I can't even release the details to our board. And it's in Boone County, not in Belvidere. So that's pretty much the limit what I can share.
Anything further for Growth Dimensions? Thank you very much, Pam.
Thank you.
Just on the Growth Dimensions side, so to speak, I don't know how many board members had the opportunity to go to RP Lumber this past weekend, right here in Belvidere. They had their grand opening. If you haven't been there, I suggest you go. It's a pretty nice place, and it was nice to see a ton of people there. So just keep that in mind. You can buy a 2x4 in Boone County.
I bought a 2x4 there. There's a 2x6. I was first. I bought a 2x6 this week.
There you go. I bought plywood and 2x4s. So
Oh, you did.
there we go. But it is nice to be able to buy it in Boone County, so it's wonderful. Next up, CASA. I don't see Charlotte, so Jeff?
I got it. CASA has 48 kids right now. We got 18 advocates, which is a pretty good deal for them right now. Although we are looking for more advocates, and training starts in October. We have ads out in the newspapers and some local venues, some social media that we're looking for training for more advocates. CASA is having a car show on Saturday from 11 to 3. There's $20 to register that great car that you got if you would like to show it, and if you like antiques, or if you'd like to bring your new car in and show it, that's fine. It's still $20. We have food trucks, and we have a live DJ. We have a silent auction. There's a 50-50 drawing. We have door prizes. There's going to be a jump house for the kids. Rock River Valley Blood Bank will be there. to draw some extra blood cells out of you. You can register with the CASA office if you want to bring a car in, or you can do walk-in if you like. Also, Manley's is going to host a Give to Drive situation, which is kind of nice. I did that at the airport last weekend, and I got to drive the heck out of a Navigator, which was kind of fun. All proceeds will carry into from the test drive into CASA. There's a portion back and forth. Please show up. I'd love to see you. Thank you.
Any questions for CASA? Thank you much, Jeff. Next up, Board of Health. Amanda.
All right. Is that working? Great. All right. Good evening, County Board and members of the public. I'm Amanda Mail with the Boone County Health Department. Just going to give a brief update on a few of our 12 Public Health Accreditation Board domains. I'm going to start with Domain 1, which is Monitor Health. I did want to bring to the board's attention that the first human case of West Nile virus in Illinois was identified from a Chicago resident in his 70s, and that was a press release that went out on August 13th. Overall, statewide, we are tracking lower for human cases, mosquito batches, and dead bird samples. We have not had a positive mosquito batch, dead bird, or human case to date in Boone County. So we're tracking lower than we have in the previous several seasons. But I will continue to keep you all updated as the rest of the summer and fall progresses. The season for West Nile virus will end on October 15th, so we'll have a couple more updates between now and then. Also wanted to bring to the board's attention that we did have a positive bat here in Boone County, which I did email out a copy of that press release to all of you on August 8th. And that is not something new that we haven't ever dealt with before. We do have positive bats in Boone County from time to time. Bats are the heaviest carrier of rabies here in Illinois and generally nationwide. We do work really closely with Roger and his staff there at Animal Services to do the follow-up. If an animal was potentially exposed, or in our case at the health department, we would be doing all of the follow-up for any humans who were potentially exposed to a rabid animal such as a bat in this case. And then also we have some updates. Unfortunately, there have been multiple cases. As of August 19th, 10 Illinois residents are considered cases and others are under investigation for severe respiratory issues, hospitalized for severe respiratory issues related to vaping. So I'm very pleased to share with this board that I think that the decision that we made to pass and update our ordinance to limit the amount of vaping that is happening here in our community, especially in public spaces, was a very good idea. We have not had a vaping hospitalization here in Boone County yet, but we are starting to see people with severe respiratory issues, and that's been linked back to heavy vaping use. So for Domain 2, which is Diagnose and Investigate, and then also Domain 3, which is Educate and Empower, we participated last week, the health department, in what we called Crimson Contagion 2019, which was a functional exercise for our public health emergency preparedness program. And that was a federal exercise, so there were states across the country participating in that. And lucky for us, the scenario, if you will, that we were playing out as if it was a real world emergency was related to an avian flu case that originated in China, H7N9, all hypothetical, but definitely a realistic exercise. The index case that entered the United States came through Chicago O'Hare International Airport, and in this practice drill, 20% of the cases that were being seen nationwide were actually in the state of Illinois, and we had multiple cases and multiple hospitalizations and deaths in Boone County as the week progressed. So that required some after-hours drill-down, call-down practice sessions, some webinars, and as you all received via email, a test exercise email as to how we would be notifying local leaders of possible isolation and quarantine procedures, possible mass vaccination clinics that we would set up throughout the county, and the work that we would do with our partners to make sure that we could vaccinate the 54,000 or close to the 54,000 people that live here. So that was very successful, but very time-consuming. Domain 5 is develop policies and plans. And the Region 1 Planning Council, in response to the work that they've been doing on their 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, did come out with a follow-up survey. I did take it before I emailed it out to all of you so that I would have a better sense of how time-consuming it was. It took me 5 minutes. It was about 7 questions. It's much shorter than the one that you all completed a few months back. They just have a few follow-up questions on the next steps for preparing that plan. So I will pass around a copy of that advertisement that came out via email. I would encourage all of you to click on that link and take it, and or forward that on to other folks that want to have a say in the regional transportation plan here in Boone and Winnebago counties. Domain 6 is enforce laws. We were hard at work the last couple of weeks, both at the Boone County Fair and at the Buchanan Street Stroll. So I do have some numbers for you all. I will let you know that we had 4 staff, 4 interns, and 1 volunteer that put in 90 hours of time on the Boone County Fair. And that is actually just the fair week, so there are a month's worth of preparation that goes into getting ready for the week of the fair, but actually on site at the fair was 90 hours. We did 95 total inspections, which include temporary permits, some of the storage trucks that bring all of the corn dogs and the ingredients for the funnel cakes, etc. We jump into those cooler trucks and we check the temperatures and make sure that that food is safe and that they're not preparing expired ingredients, etc. 3 fixed site buildings, we did several re-inspections and worked very closely with our fair board. We have some plans for next year. We've identified with some of our new staff maybe some ways that we can make that run a little bit smoother next year. We're always looking for ways to work on that. Being a part of the Buchanan Street Stroll was a very exciting event in Belvidere this past weekend. Neat to have some new food trucks that now have permits here in Boone County, so we will be seeing more business that will come in the sense of bringing more food trucks and allowing for these gatherings out in the public and bringing people together in the community, which I think is a great endeavor. And then finally, for Domain 10, which is research, I did want to bring to the board's attention that the Boone County Healthy Work Initiative has finalizing the stages of Phase 2. I did bring some handouts if anyone from the board would like a copy of the packet that was handed out last week at the Health and Human Services meeting. I know many of you have already seen the draft final report and the draft resolution, as well as the PowerPoint that was presented to that committee. But I did have some extra copies. I don't have one for everybody, so if you did want one, you're welcome to have one. I did want to introduce Emily Morales. Emily, did you want to just stand up for us real quick? So Emily is the intern and project coordinator that has spent the last year and 3 months working on this project. Sherry Gieske has been involved from our Boone County Board, and then also actually Pam Fettis from Growth Dimensions has been involved as well. Jeff, did you want to say anything about the Healthy Work Initiative, or Sherry at this time? No?
Not at this time, no.
Okay,
We're going
great.
to vote on it tonight.
Great. Okay. That's it. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I read a press release from the Illinois Department of Public Health about hepatitis A in McLean County. Did they give us vaccines too? Do we have that available?
We did receive actually several boxes of free vaccine from the CDC because of the hepatitis A outbreak that we have in the state of Illinois right now. Any other questions?
No questions? Awesome.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, R1, Regional Planning Council. Justin, you want to touch on some of the grants that they received, how they affect us?
I believe.
This past month, R1PC has received a $210,000 grant to collect data and analyze the interchanges, one in McHenry County at 23 and 90, the interchange at Irene Road in 90, and then 20 in Harrison, I believe, over in Winnebago County. So McHenry, Boone, and Winnebago are all participating in this grant. We are currently, we've submitted some projects for the Surface Transportation Block Grant, and we're currently in the process of reviewing those. Quite honestly, we don't look real favorable for any projects in this review process, but hopeful for in the future, I guess.
Any questions? Thanks, Justin. Next up, I'd accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Ms. Miller. Any discussion? I did want to point out that we do have some fund transfers. There are some raffle permits. Is there anybody here from the Notre Dame Club of Rockford or, excuse me, Belvidere High School Music Boosters, Performing Arts, or Belvidere Buck Boosters? Oh, okay. And then we do once again have several donations to our Animal Services Department. So thank you again to those who donate. So aside from that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First up, PZB. I see nothing. Mr. Ellingson, anything you want to point out to us at all?
No, sir.
Thank you. Finance, Ms. Kieske.
Item 10.1 is a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, and Denny Ellingson abstains from voting on all claims presented by Conserv FS. This
Second.
is approved 3-0 in committee.
Motion by Ms. Kieske, seconded by Ms. Milner. Discussion? All in favor? Roll call.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes. Motion carries. I do want to point out for the record quickly that Carl Larson did make it here at 6:50 p.m., so he is in attendance. Ms. Kieske?
Item 10.2 is a motion to approve Resolution 19-17. It is a resolution establishing the salary for the Office of the State's Attorney effective July 1st, 2019. It was approved 5-0 in committee.
Motion by Ms. Kieske. Is there a second? By Mr. Stark. Any discussion? Roll call. I'm sorry, Mr. Carlisle seconded that. I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Kieske.
Item 10.3 is a motion to approve Resolution 19-18. It is a resolution establishing the salary for the Office of Public Defender effective July 1st of 2019. It was also unanimously approved in committee.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Kieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Kieske.
Item 10.4 is a motion to approve IMRF employer rate for fiscal year 2020. This, too, was unanimously approved.
Motion by Ms. Kieske. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ellingson. Do we need roll call on this, or can we do a voice vote? Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any discussion? My bad. Ms. Miller.
When it left committee, there was an understanding that we might receive information about whether taking the stepped rate was advantageous, or we were going to accept the full increase. Did the phase-in rate, did we want to, was there any further information from admin about the phase-in rate?
We were unable to get any bold-faced, capitalized, and underlined feedback from IMRF relative to that question.
Okay.
As I understand it, Mr. Edmondson, this is this rate that we're approving is the actual rate, correct? It's not the step-down rate?
It is the actual
It's
rate.
taking the full bite at the apple. to
It is
start.
the Band-Aid approach, yes,
Okay,
which will save you money in the long run.
right. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Milner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Gieske.
Item 10.5 is a motion to approve Resolution 19-19. It is a notice of tax sale for parcel 03-26-180-018. Unanimously approved in committee.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion?
019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Oh, yeah.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Milner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Gieske, anything else?
Nope, that's it for finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Roads, I see nothing on the agenda. Anything you'd like to enlighten us on?
No, sir.
Health?
Aye. We have a motion. A motion to approve Resolution 19-20, which is the Boone County Health Work Initiative. It was approved in committee, 5-0.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, admin. Mr. Newhouse, anything you'd like to enlighten us with?
No motions or information at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Newhouse. Ms. Ward, City County. Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Larson, anything?
No motions, nothing at this time to add. Thank you.
I kind of like the way this is rolling here. Next up, Community Building.
Yes, we met actually last week just because of the way the calendars work rather than the day after our board meeting. Our budget still looks very good. We're bringing in more than we're spending, which is always good, more than we anticipated. I think I told you last time about Julie's accident where she was in some kind of body cast almost for a long time, but she now is walking, so she's on her way to a recovery. At that meeting, we do something that I think is very interesting. The board consists of people from like the school board and from like the park district and the township and all over the place. So Greg, who is our chairman, Brown, has everybody go around the room and mention one thing they think might be of interest to everybody on the board. And we learn a lot of really interesting tidbits about things that are going on around the county. And one thing that I thought was really interesting that Brad Fitter mentioned, he's part of Cosmo, who sold corn at the fair. They made $57,000 on selling corn. And he thinks that they will, I thought maybe the county board could do something like that. We could sell cake or something. But he said they will probably profit $37,000 from selling that corn. And it all goes back to the community, which is, I think, really cool, really good. So that's the kind of thing that we talk about at those meetings, and we learn a little bit about what's going on. I like it.
Super. Thank you very much. UCCI, I think is there a meeting coming up?
Well, we had one.
That was in Galena.
We had the one.
September 23rd in Springfield.
Okay. All right. Community Action Agency, Ms. Ward?
Yes, I just learned this afternoon that George Davis, who has been the head of our for the last 26 years, announced his retirement today. And he will be here until October 11th. And so they will be looking for a new person to take over that. And I passed out to each one of you just the first few pages tonight of the community action plan which they put together. And there's some really interesting information, if anybody else out there would like a copy, on the demographics of Boone County 10 years ago. They are right now in the process of working hard along Belvidere's Mayor Chamberlain is the president of that group, and they talked a lot about doing the census. And everybody is really concerned about the census this year because they assume we're going to, and we talked about that at UCCI as well, lose at least a legislator with so many people reportedly leaving the state. And so they are going to be hiring people for $19 an hour in our two-county area to try to make sure that we get the census numbers as accurate as possible. And the mayor is going to be putting more information together on that as well and announcing when they're going to start hiring everybody. If you know someone that's looking for a part-time job, that might be a good one. They also mentioned that in the two counties, they really believe we have about 450 homeless people. And they're trying to work as much as possible to finding places for all of these people. But their main emphasis are on the veterans, the disabled, and those who are single head of households right now. So we're trying to do a lot of things.
Thank you very much. Next up, 911.
Last month, we spent a little bit of money sending some of the 911 operators back for further training. The idea of running the phones, running multiple computers, typing everything down, and just managing everything, we think maybe the workload, being able to accomplish all this on these really stressful times is maybe probably why they are leaving on occasion. And so this retraining, hopefully getting the girls to a point where they're maybe a little bit more comfortable with this really difficult task, hopefully retaining them more. So that was the big thing, the discussion.
Super. Next up, Northern Illinois Land Bank. Ms. Gieske.
No update from our board, but I have visited all of the townships in Boone County now except for Flora, simply because we have finance that night, but I'll get there.
Super. Any other committees? Next up, scheduling of committees. Ms. Gieske.
Let's see. Finance will meet here September 10th at 6 p.m.
Mr. Larson.
The next Public Safety Committee meeting will be September 5th at 6 p.m. in this room.
Mr. Ellingson.
Well, somebody may have to double check me, but I've got down here that we should be on the 4th. That actually agrees with what this schedule says, on the 4th at 6 p.m.
Perfect. Mr. Newhouse.
Admin, Tuesday, September 3rd, 6 p.m., this room.
Ms. Ward.
City County, September 11th, 6 p.m. in this room.
Mr. Carlisle.
Also, September 11th, sharing the room with City County is HHS.
Super.
6:45. Thank you.
Mr. Stark.
Roads Capital Improvement in this room, September 5th at 6:45.
Thank you very much. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Mr. Edmondson, anything from you?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any informational items you want to pass on to us? Or I know there was a couple of things under the thing. But nope. All right. Next up, we do have a quick executive session. We do not anticipate any motions to come out of that. Just an executive session regarding personnel. So if I could have a motion for that.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Newhouse, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Roll call, please.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Muehlner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Motion carries. We are in executive. To replace the whole thing. Not
Yeah,
sure what
that-
it's going to look like, but, it fits the budget.
Yeah, that would be nice. Unfortunately, not all the audience is here tonight, but I did want to start a little bit north on Poplar Grove Road, start up at Squaw Prairie and Poplar Grove Road. I highly disagree with a statement that nothing's been done at that intersection. In fact, I've had a lot of public comments that a lot's been done at that intersection. Namely, we have done speed studies at all legs of that intersection, and I'll try to go really quickly. So the speed's been reduced on the east leg of the intersection to 45 miles per hour. We've installed stop bars on Squaw Prairie Road. We've installed a advisory 45 mile per hour speed limit on Poplar Grove Road. We've added additional stop signs. Traditionally, when you pull up to an intersection, they're on the right-hand side. We've added to the left-hand side. We've added flashing beacons, and not only that, we've added additional signage, including when you pull up to the intersection past your sign, you look ahead, you see two oncoming traffic does not stop signs. So, and then we've cleared vegetation. We've cleared a lot of trees, a lot of other vegetation to improve line of sight. So, again, I highly disagree with any statements that are made that said that we have not done anything to that intersection, and we are continuing to do other things to that intersection. And I do have the grant out there that I have made very positive statements to the board, and I stand by those statements. There has not been a grant award yet done on HSIP, the Highway Safety Improvement Program, but I'm still in the same boat I was before when I mentioned this grant, and I'm very, very, very optimistic that we're going to get some money out of this, and it's a 90% grant. So I'm not done out there, and again, I don't agree with the statement that nothing's been done at that intersection.
Mr. Stark?
What Mr. Crone's leaving out is there's been almost no accident activity. May was the last time we've had an accident. Now, I'm going to be the one in trouble because we only had an accident out there. If the sheriff said it was so good out there, so the next one's going to be on my hands because I brought it up tonight. But it's very important to bring it up that since all that activity's been done out there, there's been one accident. And if that's not doing anything at that intersection, I'm clueless.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Newhouse?
Justin, is it fair to say that there is nothing left in the public right-of-way that could be an obstruction of sight?
Honestly, it's fair to say that before we did the clear vegetation. If you were to pull up to the intersection prior to the clearing of the vegetation, you had an appropriate line of sight. There is one other bush straggler that is growing on the southwest corner that I noticed the other day I'm going to take out, but it doesn't appear to be blocking anything that is in the immediate vicinity. But again, it apparently, and I guess I somewhat understand that the more you clear, the kind of more it opens it up, and whether it's actual or just apparent that it's more visible. So we're going to continue down that route, and I'm going to take this other bush out of the way. So, but yeah, to answer your question,
I thought I understood at one point that one of the residents' fence line was in the public right of way.
I've seen evidence to indicate that's the case.
Ms. Kieske?
Well, I guess I was going to say I travel that all the time, and I absolutely agree that you have done tons there. You have done tons.
And I'm not looking for praise or anything. I'm just
Well, I'm not
I'm just
praising you.
disagreeing
I'm just
with.
telling you did a lot.
Yeah,
And
and
I
I'm just
agree-
disagreeing with
I agree
statements
with
that were
you.
publicly made
Yeah.
earlier. And so then we'll move down further. The next item down is Lawrenceville and Poplar Grove Road. I've got an exhibit up here on that. That project will be done at the same time as the bridge, as was mentioned in the past. We are a 50% partner in that, with 25% from the city and 25% from Belvidere Township, adding turn lanes and a four-way stop. We've already kind of gone through that a lot, but there is an exhibit up here to show that those improvements. And then going down to the bridge, the final set of plans are up here. We anticipate sending these down to IDOT for final review and approval within a week or two. It'll go out to bid, and the letting will be November 8th or the 5th. And then it takes a while to do contracts, and it's federally funded. So I anticipate like an award probably sometime February, March. And then in the contract, it specifically states that the old bridge is not to be demoed. until after April 6th, and the new bridge must be open by the week before Thanksgiving. This is all 2020. So we're on target. Again, this is paid for, 80% paid for out of federal funds, 20% local that we've got budgeted. Everybody's on board. I've notified the residents in the immediate area. Pam Fettis has helped contact the businesses. I directly reached out to General Mills and Dean Foods and met with them one-on-one. They've had comments. Those have been incorporated into plans, so we're all in good shape to get this thing built.
Ms. Martell?
One question, I came down the road there while the fair was going on, and I thought you had some white markings on the road at one time for the stop sign and everything, and I didn't see them, or is that because it was redone?
And you're talking about Squaw Prairie?
Yes.
So, yeah, they're still out there. There's one that's kind of been chipped up a little bit with traffic or plows or what. I guess I think we did actually have snowstorms after we put them on. So, yeah, they're still out there. I would say at least 80% of it's still out there.
Not quite as bright as what it used to be.
It's certainly not as bright. What happens is there's glass beads in all the pavement markings. Over time, those glass beads either get worn down or they're not as reflective. So, that's something that I'll keep an eye on. The other thing I failed to mention is we replaced the luminaire with a higher intensity LED bulb. So at night, visibility should be better there as well.
Mr. Carlisle?
The exit plans for trucks out of General Mills, are they using Warren, or which way are they going out again?
They are going back through the city. So we do have a detour plan that has been approved by the city and the state, and you can pass this around. They are going out through Pleasant Street, back on Main Street, and back on Logan. So, and that's been vetted through General Mills and General Mills and Deans are both aware of that and have those plans to send to all their haulers.
Any other questions for Justin?
One other thing, too, I'll mention, I guess, real quickly again, is that so this new bridge is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have a crest in the middle of the bridge. The water will drain off north and south. The beams under the bridge are currently poured in place concrete. The new bridge will be a steel beam, because the reason we're going steel is because we're expanding the spans are going to be greater, and so we're having one less pier in the waterway. Currently, there's 3 piers in the waterway to hold up the bridge, making 4-span bridge. We're going to be 2 piers with a 3-span bridge. The bridge is being elevated for the new flood criteria by about 2.5 feet, and it's being widened by roughly 3 feet on each side. So it's, in all intents and purposes, in the same spot, raised 2.5 feet, widened a few feet on each side.
Ms. Kieske, did you have a question? Okay. Mr. Newhouse.
Are there any changes in construction materials that would lengthen the proposed lifespan of this bridge over one that was made 50 years ago, or are we still having a 50-year lifespan on bridges?
Yes, the answer to the question is absolutely yes. The changes primarily are epoxy-coated rebar is the big thing. So this original bridge was built in 1964. They didn't epoxy-coat the rebar. So the steel reinforcement that's in the concrete in 1964 was just black steel, was raw steel. The steel that we have proposed to go in there now is epoxy-coated. That lengthens the life of the steel that's in the bridge, which is the structural component that's under tension. Concrete's under the compression. And concrete technology hasn't changed a whole lot. The design mix has changed a little bit, but for the most part, concrete isn't typically what fails. The big thing that's failing on this bridge is the joints. The joints cause failures to where your bridge sits on the abutments on the ends. There's steel bearings that those sit on. So when a bridge has to have movement, and that sits on those steel bearings to allow the movement. And this bridge, particularly, in my opinion, is very, very susceptible to degradation because it's at a jurisdictional border and it's above waterway. Whenever we have a bridge above waterway, that freezes first, and you always have those signs warning you that when you're going over a bridge that you're going to get. So we always salt those more intensely than we do anything else. And this one's at a jurisdictional line, so my theory is that we intensely salt it, and then probably the city turns around on the other side, intensely salting it. So this thing's probably seen a lot of salt. And at those joints, you've got steel bearings under the joints. So when you have salt and you have steel and you have water, you get some problems there. And so what the change in the technology is, steel is still the same, but what the new technology is a integral abutment now. And so instead of having the joint at the abutment, you actually push it on the other side of the approach pad. So you've got your roadway pavement, you've got a concrete approach pad, and then you've got your concrete deck. Typically between the approach pad and the concrete deck, you have a joint there to allow for expansion and contraction. That joint has been pushed now back. This new technology is probably 25 years old, and that joint is now between the pavement and the approach pad instead of the deck and the approach pad. So you don't have steel under there. So that is a huge difference, and that's going to, in theory, increase the lifespan of the bridge as well. So there's quite a few different technologies. This bridge was, the design life when this was built was 50 years, so we've exceeded that. The design life of the new bridge is design life is 75, but they're anticipating a lot more than that down the road.
Anything further? Justin, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Aside from that, I'm just looking for one more motion.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.